Welcome to the Critical Thinking series. This is part 2. So, just like last time, we got my deck. I haven't changed the deck of cards. Kind of keep them the same way it is. We'll wind up going through them a little bit at a time. Hopefully this helps you. Please don't forget to subscribe. It's right down in one of these corners. I don't remember which. Please like or dislike. Leave me some feedback. I'm looking to get better at this stuff. I just have fun. And hopefully you'll help me get to my better self. And then, if I'm getting better, I'm hopefully providing you some more things to think about. So, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with a bias. This one is confirmation bias. And with that, it is you favor things that confirm your existing beliefs. We are primed to see and agree with ideas that fit our preconceptions and to ignore and dismiss information that conflicts with them. Now, here's the example that they give. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Richard, what is it, Feynman? Yeah, not sure. Anyway, so this is absolutely true. We as humans do not want to be wrong. So we will find ways to confirm our beliefs, no matter what it might be. So there's great examples. It doesn't matter if it's your project or not, but let's say it's not your project and you disagree with the project. So you will specifically go and find things that are wrong with it so you can go, aha, see? I told you this wasn't a good idea. It's confirmation bias. It happens all the time. And you might also do it on the opposite side. You will find all the reasons that will confirm that the way that you wanted to go is the right way to go. So how can you combat this? This is the part where I really enjoy the DE&I aspect. Because you should be looking to the people in your circle. Now remember, we talked about this on a previous episode, the blind spots, right? You want people in your circle that you can go to that are going to wind up closing out those blind spots for you. They're going to tell you if you're right or they're going to tell you if you're wrong. And you want that feedback. You need that feedback. Why? Because it minimizes your confirmation bias. So there you go. Confirmation bias in the bag. All right, next one. All right, this is another bias. We're going to go 2 biases, and I'll flip over to the next slide. We'll see what happens. The Dunning-Kruger Effect. Now remember, I'm doing these things basically right now. I have no idea what's in here. I'm thinking on the fly. So far, some of these I haven't even heard of before. Like that whole Texas sharpshooter one from the last part 1 of the series. I had never heard of the Texas sharpshooter. I'm surprised it actually didn't get me demonetized because of the fact of saying sharpshooter on there. But hey, it's a type of bias. I think it was a bias. Might have been a fallacy. I don't remember. So, all right, your bias is the Dunning-Kruger Effect. The less you know, the more confident you'll likely to be. Man, isn't that the truth? I've got a lot of thoughts on this one. A lot of thoughts. But let's get into what their example is here first. Let's get into the example. Because experts know just how much they don't know, they tend to underestimate their ability. But it's easy to be overconfident when you have only a simple idea of how things are. Be skeptical of very confident opinions that lack expert understanding. Whew. All right, so I first read this. I had no idea what this was called. No clue. But I enjoy it nonetheless. Think of your knowledge as a campfire. You got a small little fire, small match when it first starts off. That brightness is what you know. And what you don't know is just that highlighted area, that shadowy form around it. That's what you don't know. So the more you know, that fire gets bigger, that campfire gets bigger, which means that shadow of that glow of the fire gets even bigger. That's all the things that you don't know. So the more you know, as it said right in here, you will realize how much you really just don't know. And so you will do things in order to prove that the path forward is the right one. And if you're wrong, you'll quickly pivot. You're not going to double down and triple down on past mistakes. Remember that sunk cost fallacy that we talked about in part 1. Don't double and triple down on the past. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, because as my favorite philosopher, Yoda, would say, the future is constantly in motion. New things come in, new data is presented, evaluate it as if it was the first time that you're seeing it, and then take a look and see if the way your path forward is still the right way to go. Because anything can happen. Don't double and triple down on those past mistakes. And yes, if someone just comes off as being overly confident, you should question it, especially if it's not their area of expertise. This is why I wonder if many companies prefer a consultant's opinion over those that work for them. And even though they'll say the exact same thing. I don't know. Might be. But, I am often questioned when it comes to business and technology solutions, because I come off as being confident. Well, there's a reason why I'm confident. I've researched it. I have gone back to my circle of trust and trying to figure out those blind spots. What am I missing? And then that's when I wind up presenting. I just don't come up with the idea on my own. That might also be because I suffer from that imposter syndrome aspect. So I'm definitely not looking to give anyone a reason to confirm my own confirmation bias that maybe I shouldn't have a seat at the table. There's many people tell me that I deserve a seat at the table, and then there's those that might feel otherwise. But anyway, Dunning-Kruger Effect. Done with that card. All right, now let's switch over. When I rewatched the episode for part 1 of this one, and I found some of those things to the game, I thought that was kind of interesting because I was not really expecting some of that. Because hey, it was an unboxing, I had no idea what to expect. All right, your fallacy. Let's see what we got going on here with this one. Black or white? All right, I'm going to assume this is like a binary fallacy. Don't know yet. I'm just trying to think, trying to predict, project. Probably shouldn't do that. So I did it anyway. Shame on me. All right, where two alternative states are presented as the only possibilities, when in fact more possibilities exist. Now we'll get into their little example, but that's their aspect. I find this often true. This is where I like to game theory things out. Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. There's always something else that can be done. Sometimes you can get a little bit too far down that rabbit hole, so you got to be careful. But I believe that there's always more than two options. Always more than two options. Because one of the options you could always do is do nothing. You could sit and observe. You don't have to go left or right. You could stop right at the stop sign. If you came to that T intersection, you could stop. You could sit and wait. You could go in reverse. You don't have to go left or right. Right, but let's see what their example is. Whilst rallying support for his plan to fundamentally undermine citizens' rights, the supreme leader told the people they were either on his side or on the side of the enemy. Great example. Great example. Politics is definitely it. You don't have to be just on the left or just on the right. You could very well be left or right leaning based on the particular political position. There's plenty of people that I know that side on the left, and one of the things that they don't agree with happens to be abortion, as an example. They prefer the option of adoption, things like that. Hey, that's an example. They may lean towards all of those other things that a left side person would believe, and they choose that side, which is typically a right side of the political platform. It happens. You don't have to be an extreme one way or the other. So remember that. All right, fallacy, black or white fallacy. Often when there are only two options are presented, you should be asking, what other options are there? Because I believe there are always more than two options. This life is not binary. All right. How are we doing on time? All right, so far so good. We are 3 in, and we're only at 10 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this episode, under 30 minutes. Maybe we'll be at around 25 minutes or so. Who knows? I tend to go off on these tangents, but all right, here we go. The next fallacy is genetic. I don't even know where we're going to go with this one. Genetic fallacy. Okay. Judging something good or bad on the basis where it comes from or from whom it comes. Okay. Oh, that person's got good genes. Well, not necessarily, right? We say that, that's a saying. So we shouldn't just take, just because the person went to Harvard, that they're going to all of a sudden be a billionaire, or that their parents are really intelligent. So therefore, this person's not going to make mistakes. Or, I think the worst one, the person doesn't come from a privileged home, comes from an underserved community. And yet we might all of a sudden assume that because the person comes from humble beginnings that they're not able to do the job. All of those things are good examples of bad examples. You should never do it. But let's see what they say. Accused on the 6 o'clock news of corruption and taking bribes, the senator said that we should all be wary of the things we hear in the media because we all know how very unreliable the media can be. Wow, that was a great circle there. I like my example far, far better. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's really what you got to look at. Just because of what you see is not always what you get. Don't presuppose a condition. That one was for you, Ninja. Presuppose. I know it's one of your favorite words out there. Takes us back to some dimes at Silent Circle. All right. Yeah, that's how I go with that one. Don't presuppose a condition. All right. Next fallacy. No true Scotsman. I'm not even sure where this is going to go. I'm not even sure. My mind immediately goes off to Braveheart and that whole aspect of prima nocta. That's where my mind's going immediately. I have no idea if that's where this is going. So let's see. Making what could be called an appeal to purity as a way to dismiss relative criticisms or flaws of an argument. Okay, so far, definitely not what I was thinking. Angus declares that Scotsmen do not put sugar on their porridge, to which Lachlan points out that he is a Scotsman and puts sugar on his porridge. Furious, like a true Scot, Angus yells that no true Scotsman sugars his porridge. All right, I got it. I'm not trying to go with it. Angus declares that Scotsman. Lachlan points out that he's a Scotsman. Okay. Got it. So, Lachlan, who is a Scotsman, puts sugar on his porridge. And then so Angus says, well, you're not a true Scotsman. I get it. I'm not sure if I like this one because I think it just comes back into way too many issues with this fallacy. No true Scotsman. Oh, I think I have a better example for this. It's kind of arguing specific to general rather than, general to specific. That aspect of that, general to specific. I think that's right. There's always the exception to the rule, and if it's an exception, it doesn't mean that the rule still doesn't apply. So remember that when you're making your logical arguments. I think I prefer it that way. Instead of saying the fallacy is, no true Scotsman, I really like the aspect of, you're arguing the. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're still doing well. Maybe we'll get through a little bit more than what we did last time. Who knows? Let's see where this goes. All right, let's get back to the bias side. I think I kind of like the bias side better. Yeah. Uh, and here's where I'll go with that. Now that I'm thinking of it, we can control our biases once we kind of name them. You know what you're able to control. And so if you can open your mind to being wrong, open your mind into understanding what preconditions you have in your life, you have a higher probability of changing it. I think the fallacy side doesn't have to be, we tend to look at those fallacies when someone else is saying it because we don't know what they're biased on. So I like to control how I'm going to handle things and improve myself and hopefully help my teams, my clients. I want everyone to improve. Definitely, I'm a much bigger believer in raising those that are lower in the hierarchy and helping them figure out ways to get higher up. I don't want to go to the top and bring them down. I believe we can take people and we can raise them up. Let's lift them up. If we raise the baseline, then we all get better. That's what I believe. Okay. Now, funny enough, who knows where this is going to go, but the next bias is belief bias. So I wonder if I have belief bias here. I have no idea. Let's see what it says. All right. If a conclusion supports your existing beliefs, you'll rationalize anything that supports it. No, I wouldn't say I have belief bias in this, because there's plenty of people that you try to help, and they for whatever reason it doesn't work. So I don't think I fall into this category, but it was kind of funny that I started talking about this is what I believe, and then the belief bias. Okay, all right. So let's read let's read further. It's difficult for us to set aside our existing ideas to consider the true merits of an argument. In practice, this means that our beliefs become impervious to criticism and are perpetually reinforced. A useful thing to ask is, when and how did I get this belief? I love this. This gets right back into you should constantly question everything around you. Is this still true? Because just because it was true yesterday doesn't mean it's true today. Take the weather as an example. Just because it was sunny today doesn't mean it's going to be sunny tomorrow. Just because it's raining today doesn't mean it's going to be raining tomorrow. Test, test, test. I think that is the most important thing, because as you get better, you're only going to get better problems to solve because the easier problems have already been solved. So, belief bias. Definitely remember that. Okay. We're going to go another bias and we'll flip back. Let's see how things are going. All right, next bias. Self-serving bias. I immediately go to, I wish I could be self-serving beer or something along those lines. I mean, that's kind of what that's the only kind of self-serving that I think is valid there is, we want the ability to kind of self-serve our beverages of choice. But that's probably not where this is going. All right. You believe your failures are due to external factors, yet you're personally responsible for your successes. Amen. It's the exact opposite as in leadership. The exact opposite. We take all the blame. Our teams get all the credit. No matter what. That's how you do things. That's what you need to do. That is the best way to go about life. Don't blame others. Take accountability. The best way to get what you want out of life is to take accountability. And if you're the one that messes up, own it. And I got to tell you, for the most part, celebrate that failure. You're going to be much better off for it. Much better off. So that's what they say. Many of us enjoy unearned privileges, luck, and advantages that others don't. It's easy to tell ourselves that we deserve these things whilst blaming circumstances when things don't go our way. Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to take credit, you got to take blame. And I believe in a way, If you're going to take the blame, hey, you deserve some of the credit. But you don't have to tell people about the credit. You shouldn't take the credit. Let others sing your praises. I think it goes far better when that happens. All right. Back to the fallacy in our time. We're at 21 minutes. Let's get through another couple of these fallacies for today. Hopefully you all are learning something. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. It's in one of these corners. I don't know which. I always get it confused. But subscribe. Don't forget to like. Dislike. Give me some feedback. Next fallacy. Composition division. It's actually composition/division. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but I already saw the person's name. I don't like where this is going on this card or the example that they're using, but we'll get to it. Assuming that what's true about one part of something has to be applied to all or other parts of it. Okay? Daniel was a precocious child. See where I get in that aspect? They're using my name. I don't want to say it was me. This wasn't me. All right. Daniel was a precocious child and had a liking for logic. He reasoned that atoms are invisible and that he was made of atoms and therefore invisible too. Unfortunately, despite his thinky skills, he lost the game of hide and go seek. Yeah, look, just because one, we know that atoms aren't invisible. We just can't see them with the naked eye. I mean, that's otherwise how would we know what an atom is? All right, no idea where I was at. Sorry for the start and stop. I've got some puppies up there that have some ideas of their own about barking at squirrels and things like that. So let's see, we were at that composition division. That one's over. Yeah, remember, just because one part of something is true doesn't mean that the rules continue to follow. It's only for that one piece it's true. We're made up of so many different things, and every problem that we're seeing is in life and in the world is complex. Break them down. Just because one part of it follows this direction doesn't mean the next part does. So anyway, kind of lost my train of thought, and apologize for that. You can go ahead and if you made it this far into the episode, go ahead and tell me where I screwed up. Hopefully all the splicing will come together. All right, your fallacy. Appeal to authority. Using the opinion or position of an authority figure or institution of authority in place of an actual argument. I love this. I tell people this all the time. All right, we're gonna get their example. I'm pretty sure their example is going to be very similar to what I was thinking of. Unable to defend his argument that the earth is flat, Bob said that his friend Terry was a qualified botanist who also believed the earth to be flat and had even seen it from up in a tree. Now, actually, I don't like that example. I'm going to give you the real world example. This happens all the time. So, you're at work, and while you're at work, you've got someone that's saying, you all are having that logical argument, that debate, and they will all of a sudden say, hey, well, so-and-so happens to be the CEO or someone higher up than you. This is the way they want it. Get that? And I talked about this in a previous episode. One, someone says, hey, I'm the CIO, the CFO, the COO, the CEO, whatever. Therefore, that's why you have to do this. The same thing is true when someone says, hey, well, this other person, which is higher up in the hierarchy than both of you, or multiple of you, says this is the way they want it. It's the same thing. The more times you have to use your position of authority, the less effective of a leader you are over time. Pure and simple. So that person that says, and always watch out for that, hey, Tim or Samantha or whoever, this is the way they want it. Well, if they wanted it that way, I'm sure they would let you know. That's the key. So, how do you defeat that? Go ask that person that's higher up in the hierarchy and be like, look, is this really what you want? Because so-and-so is saying it and it doesn't, and you weren't there to say it. So that one really gets under my skin. All right. This will be the last one for this episode. We'll keep you in there. I promise to keep it under 30 minutes this time. And I'm going to have to do some splicing because of those puppies. So here we go. Last one for today. Your fallacy is bandwagon. Appealing to popularity or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation. Seamus pointed a finger at Sean and asked him to explain how so many people could believe in leprechauns if they're only a silly old superstition. Sean wondered how so many people could believe in things based on popularity. So many things about that. You know, that popular belief. You know, at one time everyone did think the world was flat. At one time everyone thought the earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it. This gets right back into those biases, which I kind of like that this fallacy and bias kind of go together. If you're constantly looking for new data, and I tend to like to find ways to prove myself wrong. I don't have to be right. I don't want to be wrong. So if I can prove myself to be wrong now, and in this moment, then I know I'm not going to do that. Now, I would eventually maybe come back and circle back to that as things would change. But at this moment, I would go, okay, well, I'm wrong. So let's fix it, move on, go. Don't double and triple down on mistakes. Don't, and also I would say, just because you've always been successful in the past does not mean you're going to be successful in the future. It's the world's changed. Your future has not yet been written. So just because of what you did yesterday worked doesn't mean tomorrow it's going to work. Look at many things in life. Traffic in the Washington, D.C. area. Just because there wasn't traffic yesterday at 3 o'clock doesn't mean today there's not going to be, because there's always that car accident on 495. So, with all of that, I thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of these fallacies and biases. Go ahead and subscribe. Give me some likes, comments, all that kind of fun stuff. Have an amazing day.